Hello and good evening. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. We are live once again for some commentary streams here with Torque Racing in a Assetto Corsa competition. And qualifying is just about to get underway here as we come to the Mount Panorama or Bathurst circuit, Bathurst, New South Wales in Australia for round one of season 3. So things just getting underway with a new season here for Torque Racing. Should be in store for a pretty solid race here. A very tricky circuit here, to say the least. A lot of elevation change. A single lap here is just over 3.86 miles, or just a little bit over 6.21 kilometers. 23 turns in total. And a lot of this, especially in the uphill and downhill sections, is very narrow, so don't be surprised if there's a lot of contact between some of these drivers, especially early on in the race. We will see who comes out the victor here in each of the respective drivers' classes here. So if this is your first time joining, welcome in, welcome back for a brand new season. And we have about 12 minutes still to go here in qualifying, and 13 minutes in total for qualifying tonight just because of the length of the circuit. And we will see what we have in store tonight. And I'm very excited about this one, if I do say so myself. One of my favorite circuits, one of the most challenging circuits in the world. And it looks like our league owner and competitor, the 661 BMW of Oil Slick, will be the first one to start a flying lap as he comes up to the chase here, the final chicane before the final corner. And that is turns 21 and 22 right here that he's going through. So through the final corner comes the 661 of Oil Slick, so he will start the first flying lap of qualifying here this evening. It looks like he may have invalidated it, so we'll see if his lap currently counts. Looks like the timer is still continuing here. He does have the 71 of Bubble and Panda just behind him at the moment. And Bubble and Panda coming back into Torque after a fantastic season in Season 2, winning the title. We'll see if he can do a repeat here in Season 3. A few new names also joining into the league here, so there may be some shuffling around as far as drivers in their respective classes are concerned as season continues on. Most of that gets done behind the scenes before the season starts, but we'll see if anything gets adjusted after Bathurst. We've also seen a little bit of a change where some drivers have formed teams officially here, and most of these teams are about 4 to 6 drivers each. We may see a new constructors or team title coming into play here for Season 3 as well. And Oil Slick out of the tricky turn 18 at Forest's elbow, and now down the Conrad straight for the first time on what should be his first flying lap here. And a little too much on that curb, kicks the car out just a little bit, but he holds on through the corner nicely. We'll see what he does here for his preliminary lap time. And looks like he is going to take over preliminary pole for a brief moment there with a 2:02.035. Bubble and Panda, though, will go quicker behind him. You can find Panda. There he is. A 2:01.395 is your current pole time at the moment here. Just over 8.5 minutes still to go. And back up the hill they go through the tricky corners, through the cutting and quarry corner. See if we can find someone coming up to the line here pretty quickly. Like the next car is going to be the 27. And that is a new comer here. That is Boogie-Eyed Flea. And he will take over P3 at the moment, a 202.235. So a solid outing here from the newcomer at the moment, as Maxi Luca, who had an astonishing pace in the final 4 races of Season 2, currently in P21 at the moment, in the 65 Porsche just behind on circuit at the moment. And no lap time on the board from him officially, as he's not got a clean lap. That is one thing that's going to be very difficult for a number of these drivers. It's very easy to lose track limits here, scraping a wall, especially here through the cutting and quarry corner. And then on the downhill section from turns 11 through 18, that Skyline, the Dipper, and Forest's Elbow. That is one of the most tricky places here. You're going to see him come up through turn 9 and 10 here. Oh, and right into the wall as I was just speaking about it. You can see scraping that wall, losing a little bit of momentum, and now he starts the descent. This is a serpentine switchback down the hillside. You can carry a lot of momentum unintentionally through a number of these corners. And here to turn 18. Ooh, and the car ahead of Boogie-Eyed Flea will scrape the wall at turn 18 exit. It looks like he's going to get out of the way of Maxi Luca, and he will go through. This will not be a official lap for him, as it is officially dirty. So he'll have to try one more time here now as he goes through turn 20. And since Itiga, another returning name here in the 323 McLaren. Oh, and he goes around the back end, steps out on him right in front of CC Aviator. CCW Aviator's got to lose a little bit of momentum to avoid contact there, but Sensei does a good job of getting out of the way, and you can see his current lap time in the red in the top left is invalid even before he lost it at turn 21. So he has not ran a clean lap here yet, as he will try it one more time now. Last lap was a 2:16.145, which places him in 24th. It does put him at the rear of the field. We do only have 24 drivers starting this race tonight. Red Baron returning in the 24 BMW as he exits turn 23, comes to the line and improves a little bit there. A 2:04.437, so good enough for 16th at the moment. And another new name here in the number 3 BMW, Cool Whip. And he is making his first official start for Torque Racing here as he goes up the hill and goes through Frog Hollow. That's turns 8 and 9. And of course, if this is your first time joining, please always consider looking into stackup.org. All of the commentary streams I do is always going to be in partnership with stackup.org, benefiting both active and veteran military members of not only the US but NATO allied forces, and supporting mental health, care packages to active duty, and then for veterans, multiple options and opportunities to help support them through donations, and all of the funds completely tax write-offable. So a 501c organization, and through 21 goes Cool Whip, so he's gonna have to go one more time here, it looks like, as well. We'll see if this one stays clean for him. We're under 4 minutes to go, coming up on 3.5 minutes as he comes through turn 23 now. And across the line will not be an official lap, so he will have to try one more time to get on the board here. Chuggalug currently sitting in P2, returning for Season 3. A solid outing in Season 2 for him. Sits in P2 with a 201.875 at the moment. Matty Ice, another returning name here in the 92 Lexus this season. And he's currently P13 with a 203.507. Ooh, and maybe a little brush with the wall there. Picking Joe Mama just behind him in the 33, Mercedes sits in P9. And now out of turn 23, another new name to the league, Velospasm, or Spams rather, in 14th, still learning some of these newer names. Currently his fast lap a 204.025, and we now have less than 2.5 minutes to go, so these will likely be some of the final laps of qualifying here for many of these drivers. And Oil Slick has fallen to P4 at the moment, and he's invalidated the lap. And his last clean lap was a 2:10.225. And looks like It's Finley is just going to come out onto circuit right ahead of Oil Slick in that number 6 McLaren, currently 10th place for Finley. Yeah, it looks like Snakebite and Bilagrill now coming to the line. Bilagrill sits in P20 at the moment. Snakebite in P8. Oh, look at that. And around will go Bilagrill out of turn 23. So that will do it for him in qualifying. And Snakebite will run his fastest lap of the session in the 69 Ferrari, a 201.985. That could be something to pay attention to here post-qualifying. It may be a push wide by Snakebite. And Bubble and Panda, your current pole sitter, sits in pit lane at the moment with 60 seconds now to go in qualifying. And returning for his second season now here in Season 3, Azteca in the 16 Mustang, currently in 22nd. A 205.610, his current fastest. And with just over 40 seconds to go, he starts a new lap here. Oh, and as we switch the camera to HTI Danger, he loses the back end coming up the hill. And that is at the exit of the cutting, turn 4. And he will reset. That will do it for him in qualifying with less than 30 seconds to go. And another new name here in the 72 Porsche. Kamakopa will come out of turn 23 and will come across the line to start a new flying lap. Last lap, a 203.395. Currently P12 with a 203.195. He's about 2/10 off his fast pace right now. And with that, the checkered flag has dropped here at Bathurst. So these are the final laps in qualifying. And Snakebite in the 69 Ferrari now out of turn 22. He's about 3.5 tenths and growing his pace here, almost to a full half second now. Out of turn 23, and he will take over P2. So he bumps from 3 to 2 and goes with a 201.562. We'll see if that holds up. Still a minute 20 to go here before the qualifying session officially closes off. And Azteca on the opposite end here is struggling for pace coming down the Conrad Straight. So he's going to be off pace by over a second. And Red Baron just overtaking him. And Red Baron has picked up his pace a little bit, but loses it there. Was about 2.5 tenths up, but now loses all the pace there and scrubs the lap. Check in with the 55 real quick if we can find him. There he is. CCW Aviator up to turn 23. He's about 2/10 and climbing here on his pace coming out of the final corner. 30 seconds to go before the session is officially in the books. And Aviator will improve to a 204.962, but stays in P17. And it's Finley, appears to be our final driver on a flying lap with under 15 seconds to go here. Out of turn 23 with 10 seconds left. And Finley jumps from P10 to P7 in the number 6, and we take a short break before our formation lap. And for those of you that are Twitch Turbo or subscribers, thank you for the support and viewing the channel. As always, much appreciate that. You will always get ad-free here as a subscriber. But with that, let's take a look and see what we have in store here in qualifying, or after qualifying, I should say, as Bubble and Panda does take pole for the first race of the third season of Torque Racing here. And Snakebite will start in P2. Maxi Luca manages to get inside the top 3. Chugalug in P4, and HTI Danger your top 5. Now, looking back to Season 2, not a huge surprise to see Bubble and Panda, Maxi Luca, Chugalug, and Danger in the top 5, but Snakebite, we've not seen a whole lot from him in the top 5, especially out of qualifying. We'll see what happens once the lights go out. And looking through the rest of our grid here, outside of the top 5, Oil Slick drops to P6. Another couple names here that kind of surprised me. Kicking Joe Mama in the top 10 here. And he's in that 33 Mercedes in P10. Otherwise, we've got Matty Ice in 13th in that 92 Lexus. And through some of these other names here, not a whole lot really standing out to me. I am kind of surprised that Sensei Tiga does not improve out of P24, and he will start all the way at the rear of the pack. So he's got his work cut out for him. He's had some really great races in Season 2, and I'd be surprised if we don't, as long as he can run a clean race and not get wrapped up, I'd be surprised if we see him finish outside the top 10. And another one that kind of stands out to me is Atomic Hippo. And Hippo, he has had his work cut out for him. He's had some great racing here in Torque. And we are just a few seconds from lights out for the formation lap. And Bubble and Panda will lead us through for a formation lap here as the 71 Mustang pulls away. For those of you that were in the ad break, welcome back in here. Formation lap is just getting underway here. You're going to adjust the capture card here. Give me 1 second. There we go. That should fix the audio issue I was picking up on, so that we'll have 45 minutes of racing after the formation lap. And for those of you that are not Twitch Turbo or subscribers to the channel, I was speaking to some of the things that kind of stand out to me outside of the top 5. Oil Slick gets bumped out of the top 5, but right there in P6 here to start the race. Not a huge surprise after the end of qualifying. HTI Danger, Chugalug, Maxi Luca, and Bubble and Panda, all names that I expect to see in the top 5. But Snakebite, kind of the odd one out here. We've seen good racing from him in the past, but not really seen a great qualifying pace from him previously in Season 2. We'll see if the Ferrari can make up some ground here from what he had in Season 2. He does here in Season 3. And as we get ready to get about halfway through the formation lap here, I do want to take a moment of my own personal solitude for a minute here as we wait for the drivers to get in line. As unfortunately on Sunday, I was informed that one of my oldest gaming friends had passed away earlier this year. Someone that was one of the first people I ever got to meet and interact with in online gaming all the way back in 2003. So for today's stream, on a personal note, I do dedicate the stream here to my buddy Rantar, or Ran Allen, or Chuck as he was actually known as. On at 55, but a friend nonetheless, even after all the years of gaming. And you will be sorely missed by many. And with that, our formation lap nears the end here for 45 minutes in Australia at Mount Panorama Circuit. And prepare for what I expect to be quite a bit of chaos and mayhem to open the first lap here, especially right about turn 2. I'm expecting a good fair bit of it. Because of the way Assetto Corsa has everything set up, I'm going to stay on this screen here for the first lap or two, make things a little easier to find what's happening. But with that, we are coming up to the final corner to get ready to start the 45 minutes of Bathurst. And here we come to turn 23. A slow roll, and Snakebite is out of position here in the 69. And we come to the line here.
Green light.
And the green flag is out. We are underway. Snakebite will start out of position, giving Maxi Luca essentially position 2 to start the race. And turn 1 looking a little bit wild here. And things starting to calm down as they exit. Everybody gets through cleanly. Just a little bit of runoff, but I don't see any major contact from anybody here. And now it looks like Maxi Luca in the 65 Porsche trying to make some moves here up front on Panda. Loses out on it, and we had some contact with the wall there. The timing table is a little delayed on this opening lap. Oh, and there's the mayhem we were talking about. That's HTI Danger. And now this entire grid is going to slow down. And now we're going to get some cars reset to pit lane. And that is going to hurt a number of these drivers. And it looks like Snakebite in the 69 gets wrapped up in it. As does FHM J-Dog in the 85 Mercedes. So they have both been towed back to pit lane efficiently. And the 71 of Bubble and Panda is out front ahead of Maxi Luca. And then Bogey-Eyed Flea is there in the 27 Ferrari in P5. Things starting to calm down now here slowly after the chaotic start. And it looks like we may have another driver mixed up in this as well. Let's take a look here. And indeed we do. That is going to be Red Baron. who is also back on pit lane, as Bubbling Panda now leads the end of lap 1 in the 71, just over 2 seconds ahead of Maxi Luca. Bogey-Eyed Flea now sits in P3, HTI Danger P4, and Sucka 509 P5. And It's Finley has come in to service a pit stop. And for those of you that may be new, that orange bracket to the right of the driver's number with that number 1 is a mandatory pit stop. So all drivers must complete at least one pit stop in this race. The Cool Whip has also come in, as has the 661 of Oil Slick. And the 85 of FHM J-Dog is still on pit lane. And meanwhile, back on circuit, Bubbling Panda now leading by 2.5 seconds, 2.4 to be specific, over Maxi Luca. And Luca is starting to close the gap here a little bit, down to 2 seconds, as he comes onto the Conrad straight. That Mustang with a bit more horsepower will favor this high-speed straightaway over that Porsche, but that Porsche is going to have the upper hand on the hill sections, being a bit more nimble and agile. Bubbling Panda, though, has shown what kind of driver he is last season. Very consistent, very clean as much as possible. And let's check in here with the rest of the grid. We're going to go back to this timing table here real quick. And Bogey-Eyed Flea trying to hold on to P5 here, just ahead of Comacopa. So the 72 Porsche chasing after the 27 Ferrari. Oh, and HTI Danger loses the back end, but he holds on to it, doesn't go completely around. And since Itiga has had to get a tow back to pit lane after having an incident, and he will lose P14 because of that. Bubbling Panda holding on to the lead here, 2.5 seconds. And we are just over 5 minutes into this 45-minute race. The gap from Maxi Luca in P2 to Sucka 509 in P3 now almost 13 seconds. HTI Danger holding on to P4 still, even after losing the back end, coming up the hill. And Bog-Eyed Flea, I believe, is actually how that's bounced. Now half a second behind Danger. Comacopa trailing behind 7/10 at the moment. Natty Ice in the 92 Lexus, now 6 seconds behind Comacopa. And we have a... Oh, never mind, just the leaderboard updating here. You see Comacopa trying to find a way around that 27 Ferrari. Snakebite officially a lap down. And correction on the 27, it is Bogeyed Lee. Got that corrected here. And Atomic Hippo now here in P12 in the 999 Porsche, coming out of turn 1, just behind the 21st place number 16 Mustang of Azteca, who is a lap down officially. And Maxi Lucas still sitting just over 2 seconds behind Bubblin' Panda, who is your race leader still. Succo 509 now 14 seconds behind Maxi Luca, and has a 5-second gap to Danger behind. Oh, and the 323 of Sensei Tiga goes around again. And it looks like he's having some troubles here. This is on the start of the descent down the hill. That is at turn 12. To start the S's. So Sensei holding on to 17th. Oil Slick now sits in 19th, still stationary in pit lane after a lap 1 incident. Red Baron back on circuit after his incident here on the opening lap as well in that 24 BMW, sitting in 22nd overall. And he is 3.5 seconds behind Azteca for 21st. So Red Baron trying to claw his way back through here. Meanwhile, here in 13th, Cool Whip will let Maxi Luca through and go a lap down to the leaders. Not sure why we had lights flash from a lapped vehicle. A little unorthodox, but as you can see, the evening is starting to creep in. This race will finish in the dark as we come up on almost the first full 10 minutes in the books here. Just under 36 minutes still to go. And Bogeyed Flea holding on to that 4th place position still. He's opened the gap to Komakopa behind 1.4 seconds now between the two of them. At 27, Ferrari trying to pull away as much as he can. Both of the drivers still with our mandatory pit stop to serve. And we now have the first full 10 minutes in the books here. Just under 35 minutes now left in this race. Bubblin' Panda continues to lead. The gap now 4.5 seconds over Maxi Luca. And things getting very dark here. And Panda with the fast lap of the race, currently a 2:01.495. It looks like we had another tow back. That's CCW Aviator, who was in 11th. So he has some troubles and gets towed back to pit lane. And that will cost him a lot of time. Now some trouble here at the exit of turn 21 and 22. Natural having some trouble, as well as the 98. Of Bilagrill, who's in 15th. The Natural in 19th is going to come back into pit lane, it looks like. Actually, I misspoke on that. He stays out on circuit here as drivers start to cycle in and out of pit lane due to incident, damage, and just serving their mandatory pit stop. And FHM J-Dog holding on to P17 at the moment, with Bubblin' Panda, your leader, about to put him a lap down here on the Conrad Straight. And Panda will go by without too much of an issue there. And back up the hill we go, as we are now almost a full 15 minutes into this one. And most of the grid's starting to get really stretched apart here. Not huge surprise to say the least. And Sensitiga will officially gain a position due to someone being towed back here. So he moves from 16th to 15th now after overtaking the position on circuit where the driver was towed back. That is a great question, Pale Batman. There was pandemonium, if you will, at about turn 3 and 4. We had a number of drivers involved in that. Who caused it? Not sure. Who was airborne? Not sure. Heard reports that, oh, and Bogey is going to go through the runoff space there. And surprised we don't see a penalty for that. But he does slow pace here, and Copa is going to close that gap to half a second now. Snakebite was one of the drivers involved in that Pale Batman. He has been stationary on pit lane since lap 1 at turn 3. So not sure what happened for him specifically. We did see a number of drivers get turned though. And now still with that lead here, starting lap number 8. And the gap to Maxi Luca now 5.5 seconds and growing almost to 6 seconds there. It's very possible. Typically, if someone DNFs, though, Batman, they do disappear from the session. We are down one driver from race start as well. When this session started, we showed 25 because it counts me as a competitor for some reason. So we have lost one officially. You can see Azteca holding on to P19 here, still in that 16 Mustang, as he has let the 14th place 98 Mustang of Bilagrill through. And HTI Danger holding on to P12 at the moment, but he is trying to close the gap to Cool Whip. Kicking Joe Mama. Let's take a look and see where he is. P8 at the moment. So kicking Joe Mama and overtaking on it. Hopefully that is the correct pronunciation of that. The 824 Porsche newcomer here getting overtaken by kicking Joe Mama. So the 33 Mercedes will move up to P7 now. Now opening that gap nicely, 1.6 seconds and growing here as he comes down the descent side of the hill. And that gap now 2 seconds between P7 and 8. Let's take a look at FHM J-Dog here in the 85 Mercedes. And Bowland Panda has lapped him as well now. Oh, and this 720 McLaren Velo spams going off into the grass there on the Conrad straight, coming up to turn 21. Oh, and Red Baron just shot to the wall there. And that is a heavy impact by the 24 BMW at the exit of 21 and 22. And I believe he gets towed back to pit lane, and he may have just retired from the race altogether with that. Oil Slick finally back on circuit here. And indeed, Red Baron has retired. Competitor list dropping to 23 now. So 2 drivers have officially retired since the start of this race. And not a huge surprise to me, if I am honest. Bathurst, a very challenging and narrow circuit. Let's take a look at the timetable here and just see what these gaps look like. And it looks like Sucka 509 has taken over P2 now, as Maxi Luca has served his mandatory pit stop and dropped to 9th place. And he will be the highest running driver at the moment who has served the mandatory pit stop. It's Finley, though, coming up to turn 23 just behind, but Maxi Luca back on circuit now as we speak. Let's take a look and see, where is Oil Slick. Oil Slick now too far behind for the timetable to tell us what the gap is to CCW Aviator ahead. And the gap from Bubblin' Panda in P1 to Sucka 509 in P2 is over 28 seconds. So almost about a quarter of the lap here is separating the difference between first and second currently. And Bogey is sitting 4.2 seconds behind Sucka, with Komakopa still in tow 1.1 second behind. Matty Ice rounds out your top 5, 16.5 seconds behind Komakopa currently. And it looks like Red Baron has decided to rejoin here. So we'll see if he decides to come back out on the circuit. Currently in 22nd. 23 drivers in this race. Snakebite still stationary since lap 1, turn 3. And Matty Ice now trying to defend against Kickin' Joe Mama for 5th place. The 92 Lexus holding off the 33 Mercedes here as they go through turns 9 and 10 through 11 and down the S's now. What, 0.3 of a second separating them as they come up to turn 18. Gap growing to 4, now 0.5. Mercedes should have a little bit more top end. You can see that gap now starting to slowly shrink here, 0.4 of a second. It's not going to be enough before turn 21, though. And it looks like Kickin' Joe Mama loses a little bit of ground there at turn 20. When he slides through 21. And now 1.5 seconds behind. But it looks like Matty Ice is going to come in for a mandatory, as is Kickin' Joe Mama. So both drivers come in after 20 minutes of racing here. Has now elapsed as we are coming up on 23.5 minutes still to go out of the 45 minutes of this total race. Meanwhile, back inside the top 3 here, Bogey still holding on to P3, just shy of 5 seconds behind Sucka, and little over 1.5 seconds over Komakopa. And that gap to Komakopa did shrink just a little bit, but now starting to grow back to 1.7 seconds there for a brief second. And it looks like Komakopa has a much better line through the S's here and top of the peak. Now an issue for the 323. And it looks like Bongit also having some troubles there, getting heavy contact with the wall out of turn 3 and 4. And there's the halfway point. Oh, and that is a very tricky spot for the 323 to be in here. That is Sensei Tiga, and he is sandwiched here. And this is going to be an Austin Powers style 30-point turn, if you will, just to get the car corrected. And he's got traffic closing in behind rapidly, but he's going to finally get underway. He was stuck on that inside wall coming up on turn 3. Now back underway here. We'll see if he stays out for another lap. Does not tow back, though. And now Kickin' Joe Mama in P5 is coming up on him. And will go by. And it looks like Sensei is definitely hurting for pace here. He's likely damaged the car. It's very difficult to tell with these darker conditions if he is drifting to one way or another. He is just trying to get around the circuit here. I'm suspecting we will see him come in at the end of this lap back to pit lane in P18 at the moment. Moving a little wide there coming up to turn 20, but he holds on through the corner. Now the big question is he actually damaged enough that warrants a pit stop, or does he stay out? And it looks like he's going to opt to stay out, so that will see him go another lap here. And another note to watch here, Sucka 509 has taken over race lead as Bubble and Panda has come in for his mandatory pit stop. So Sucka 509 still has his mandatory, as does Bogeyed Flea, who's in P2 now. And here comes Sucka for his mandatory. Looks like CCW Aviator is going to come in for a pit stop as well. This will be his mandatory pit stop. However, Bogeyed Flea will stay out and inherit the race lead as a result of Sucka coming into pit now. Kickin' Joe Mama holding on to P5 here currently. Max Luca is in P6 behind. Let's take a look and see where Bubble and Panda has ended up. So far, he is in 3rd place. So he drops from lead to 3rd at the moment. And just a handful of drivers still to serve that mandatory pit stop. Your race leader, Sucka 509, Bogeyed Flea, who is technically actually your race leader. This is not updated actively. HTI Danger in pits now, as is Longit. And CCW Aviator in pit lane. And Snakebite still stationary. And the gap from Bogeyed Flea to Bubble and Panda for the lead currently 17.5 seconds. 17.4 seconds to go. Or 17.4 seconds to be specific. And the 78 is going to get a penalty now. 30 seconds for speeding in pit lane. That is HTI Danger currently in P11. We've got a car stopped on circuit here. That's Danger. He gets towed back. Danger stops in the middle of the circuit to get towed. And that is going to not only hurt him time-wise, that is going to require him to go around an additional time to service that stop and go. And Komakopa still holding on to P4 at the moment, but Kickin' Joe Mama 10 seconds behind. And Atomic Hippo just ahead of the 72 in the 999. Both Porsches here, but Atomic Hippo is in P15, a lap behind. And Atomic Hippo will let Copa through, and now has a 16.5 second gap to catch up to Succa 509 for P3. And Maxi Lucas still trying to find pace after pitting early from P2. Now has made it as high as P6 here, and we have just over 17 minutes of racing still to go. And Sensei 50, or excuse me, Senna 509. 12 Porsche sits in P17 here. For some reason, I'm showing... Yeah, we've got two drivers scored in P17 at the moment. Senna 509 and Sensei Tiga both showing in P17 on the leaderboard. And Succa 509 still trailing to your race leader currently. Actually, I should say Bubbling Panda has taken back race lead finally. Not a huge surprise after the earlier incident with him pitting early. So he's had the upper hand here. And Red Baron has returned to circuit in the 24 BMW, currently scored in 22nd, so only one car scored behind him at the moment. And Cool Whip is going to let your race leader Bubblin' Panda through coming up to turn 23. And Bubblin' Panda will officially start lap 15. Still with the fastest lap of the race at a 2:01.492, so it has held up. And the 72 has an issue coming through the S's and is going to reset, so Copa is going to get towed back to pit lane now, and that is going to make him lose second place. And not sure what happened for Copa, but he will get towed back, and that will likely be outside of the top 10 here once he gets going again, because of the time to pit lane and time of service for the vehicle. And the natural coming into pit in the 188, McLaren just ahead of him servicing the mandatory pit stop. And Maxi Luca has found his way to P5 now because of the incident for Copa. So that now puts him back inside the top 5 here officially. This makes things rather interesting up front. Pick and Joe Mama now 3 seconds ahead of Maxi Luca in 3rd place. Bogeyed Flea in 4th place, just a 1.5 seconds ahead of Maxi Luca. About a 1.5 seconds separating 3rd from 4th and 4th from 5th. Let's see if we can find Pick and Joe Mama. Here he is in 3rd place now, 1.8 seconds ahead of Bogeyed Flea. Flea now starting to lose a little bit of pace here. The gap now under a second between him and Maxi Luca. And We now have less than 13 minutes to go in this race. Track time now just after 9 p.m. You can see it has gotten very dark here. Gap for third to fourth now changing to 3 seconds as Maxi Luca has taken the position. Penalty now being served and cleared. Now the 824 having some troubles. And that is Bonget in 18th now. He was having some trouble. The exit of turn 21, right around turn 22 approximately. And looks like we've got It's Finley coming out. Excuse me, CCW Aviator coming out. It's Finley a lap ahead of Fonget. Bonget. Wow, I can talk. And Senna 509. Now the next car behind Bonget. That is 15th place, a lap ahead. We can check in. Ooh. And Maxi Luca having some trouble. He's dropped to P6 now as Matty Ice in the 92 Lexus has gone through to take over P5. Now just under 10.5 minutes still to go here in Bathurst. Maxi Luca makes a mistake. And now the 55 has made a mistake. And CCW Aviator will reset back to pit lane once again. He's gained a position to 21st at the moment, but he gets towed back one more time. The gap between second and third now almost 30 seconds. As between Sucka 509 and Kick and Joe Mama. Kick and Joe Mama now 8.5 seconds and growing over Bogeyed Flea for third and fourth place. And now 8 seconds separating third and fourth. FHM J-Dog in P12 now 4.5 seconds. Actually, make that almost 5 seconds ahead of Atomic Hippo. And as I say that, they do hit 5 seconds there for a brief moment. That's 12th to 13th. Bello Spams, a newcomer here in his first race with Torque Racing, holding on to P7 currently. And looks like Bila Grill, Snakebite, and the CCW Aviator all on pit lane currently. And Oil Slick has reset to pit lane as well, so he's had to get another tow back here. So that will do it for Oil Slick, your league owner and admin. Having some troubles here on the tricky, challenging circuit in Australia. Bubblin' Panda still dominating now that he's back out front on lap 18. And Sensei Tiga will go through the runoff space here to let him through. And looks like Senna having some troubles there at turn 18, goes very wide at the exit just ahead of Bubble and Panda, and he will let Panda through with no contention in P15. And Sucka 509, about half a lap behind your race leader, as he's at the top of the mountain right now, getting ready to start the descent as Panda gets ready to come into turn 23. And Maxi Luca still sits in P6 at the moment after his earlier incident just a few laps ago. Dropping from P5 back to P6 now, but he is chasing after Matty Ice for that position. The gap now at 3 seconds between the two of them. And we are inching closer and closer to the final 5 minutes here. And as Sucka 509 gets ready to come to the end of lap 18, we are going to see our leader out of turn 7. Dick and Joe Mama still holding on to that third place position here. And he's got about 12 seconds for the car behind currently. And it looks like FHM J-Dog has had to get a tow back. And now an issue for the 323 on top of the mountain. That is Sensei Tiga in 18th once again. He's back underway here, so we'll see what he does here in the closing 5.5 minutes. Oil Slick now all the way back to P20 as he gets back underway to rejoin the circuit here. Will come out just behind the Natural in 11th place. Not the start to Season 3 that Oil Slick had hoped for, to say the least. Very unorthodox and uncharacteristic start to this season for him. And now the 78 has some trouble. That's HTI Danger in 16th. Camera trying to find him here, and there he goes, underway in that 78 Mustang once again. Now through turn 11 and 12. An Atomic Hippo in the 999 Porsche holding on to P12, 6.5 seconds ahead of Senna 509 in that number 12 Porsche. So pretty decent gap between these two as we are closing in on the final few minutes here still. Oh, and Maxi Luca has come back into pit lane here, and I believe he may have actually towed back in, but he's still showing in P7 at the moment. If he's lost one more position, that puts Bellow Spams into P6 in the 720 McLaren. And as Sucka 509 exits turn 2, your race leader Panda was going through turn 18. Meanwhile, Kick and Joe Mama holding on to P3, 9.5 seconds over bogeyed Flea right now. And we're taking a look to see who is close position-wise here, according to the timetable on the lower left. Oil Slick has dropped to P21 now. Very out of character for Oil Slick here to start a new season to say the least. So he's got a lot of work ahead of him here after the first race. And really, outside of the battle for, I don't even want to call this a battle. It's 10-second gap between third and fourth. You don't really have anybody else running in position in order right now consecutively. And now coming up on the final 2 minutes here in just about 10 seconds time, we will likely have just one more lap to go after this one, as there will definitely be less than 2 minutes left on that timer when Panda comes to the finish line. Now through turn 12 as we speak. He's still holding pretty strong with his lap times. His last lap was a 2:02.857 compared to his fast lap of a 2:01.492. So he is still holding a pretty solid pace here with just over 90 seconds still to go. And at the end of the Conrad straight through the chase, it's turns 21 and 22. And to the final 23rd corner here, this should be the white flag. We now have 1:10 to go and counting. And that is final lap here. So we are on the white flag here. One more to go as your leader goes through turn 1 for the final time tonight. And one more issue, unfortunately, for the 3-2-3 once again. That is coming out of turn 8 and 9. I find him here real quick. There he is, Sensei Tiga holding on to P17 at the moment. He's now going through turn 12 and 13. And I don't think we're going to see Oil Slick return as the final 20 seconds now on the clock. CCW Aviator in 22nd scored right behind him, and Snakebite 23rd behind Aviator, all sitting stationary on pit lane. Oh, and Panda having some troubles here, coming down the mountain for the final time, going through the runoff space at turn 12. And he will navigate through the rest of the S's here, but he's got plenty of time. Now out of turn 18 at Forest's Elbow, and onto the Conrad straight as he exits turn 19. And for the final time this evening, in the darkness at Bathurst, your leader goes through turns 21 and 22 at the chase, and will come up to Murray's Corner, turn 23, to see the checkered flag, the 71 Ford Mustang of Bubblin' Panda. After winning it all in Season 2, we'll see the checkered flag for the first race of Season 3, and starts off just as strong as he finished Season 2. And Sucka 509 having some troubles here, it looks like. And no, it looks like the camera just trying to catch up to everything. So Sucka 509 down the Conrad straight now. This is for P2. And looks like Red Baron will get a 30-second stop and go that he will have unserved in 20th. As Sucka 509 now goes through turn 23. And that 34 Nissan will come across the line to take second place. So a strong outing by Sucka 509 to start Season 2 as well. Hick and Joe Mama holding on for P3. And this will be one of his first podiums in Torque Racing. And through that final corner, the 33 Mercedes now. And that's going to be your podium here as Kick and Joe Mama will take the checkered for third place. And Matty Ice now down the straight here in the 92 Lexus. And it's Finley trying to get ahead of him, not for position here. Finley in 7th. Oh, and contact between the two of them. And looks like Matty Ice getting onto that curb just a little too much. Natural will go through between the two of them and drop in line behind the other McLaren of It's Finley. It will finish here just ahead as Matty Ice in the 92 will now come across the line for P4, a lap behind your leader. So your top 5 after 45 minutes in Bathurst, your winner race winner, there we go, of Bubblin' Panda, Sucka 509, Kickin' Joe Mama, Matty Ice, and the new name to the league, Bogeyed Flea, finishes P5. So that was a interesting race to say the least, especially at the start. But just like that, the first race of the season is in the books. See, Chug-a-Lug is the one official DNF of the race who does not come back out. Snakebite gets towed back, but never leaves pit lane, finishing 23rd. And then CCW Aviator will finish 11 laps behind. Oil Slick 9 laps in 21st. Red Baron 7 laps in P20. And Azteca 5 laps behind in P19. So a very large gap between a number of these drivers across the board. But with that, thank you everybody for joining me for the first race of Season 3 here with Torque Racing. We'll be back next Tuesday evening, same time at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time for Indianapolis. With that, make sure you hit the follow button if you don't already to get those notifications. Hit the subscribe button as well. And I should also have some updates coming on social media, hopefully the next day or two, regarding a special event stream this possible weekend. So make sure you follow me over on X, Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you name it. I'm on all of them. With that, thanks again for joining me. Have yourselves a great rest of your night. We're going to see if we can find someone to raid. And I will see you next week for Torque Racing.